For centuries, the world has admired the Spartans' warriors carved from discipline, forged by fire, and trained to fear nothing, not even death. But there is one story, one final battle, that history barely whispers about. This is the untold tale of the last stand of the Spartan Legion. After the legendary Battle of Thermopylae, Sparta's reputation soared, but its strength secretly weakened. As other Greek cities rose in power, alliances shifted and enemies multiplied. The once invincible Spartan Empire began to crumble. Their armies grew smaller, their influence shrinking with each passing year. Yet, hidden in the southern mountains of Greece, one elite force remained. The Crimson Legion, a final brotherhood of warriors trained in the ancient, unforgiving Spartan way. They were not many, but they were the absolute best. The last echo of Sparta's golden age. Across the Aegean Sea, a new threat was rising. A ruthless warlord known as Darius of Halicarnassus was conquering city after city, his ambition matched only by his military genius. Darius was brilliant, unstoppable, and he sought to crush Greece entirely, claiming its lands for his new empire. One by one, cities surrendered to his might, their walls falling, their armies broken. Soon Darius stood at the borders of Laconia, the very homeland of Sparta. He expected a swift surrender, another easy victory. But the Spartans did not surrender. Sparta no longer had massive armies to call upon. There were no legions of thousands, no endless supply of fresh warriors, but they still had legends. Old generals with wisdom etched into their faces, young fighters with fire in their hearts, and hardened survivors of past wars. The Spartan Council called upon them all, a final, desperate summons. From Byakas farms and remote mountain outposts, they gathered. Together, they formed the final, elite force, the last Spartan Legion. There were only 300 warriors, a symbolic echo of the famous 300 at Thermopylae. But these were not the same Spartans. These were the last of their kind, the final flickering flame of a dying dynasty. Knowing they were vastly outnumbered, the Spartans turned to the one advantage they had mastered for centuries: the battlefield itself. Instead of fighting Darius on the open plains where his numbers would crush them, they marched to Mount Ardenos. It was a treacherous mountain with a narrow, winding pass, a natural bottleneck where only a limited number of enemy soldiers could attack at once. Their plan was simple and grim: hold the pass for as long as possible, buy precious time for the rest of Greece to unite, and if necessary, die with honor. As they raised their shields, their general, Leonidas, the third named in honor of the ancient king, addressed his warriors. His voice was steady, calm. "Tonight," he said, "we stand not for victory, but for Sparta." Darius arrived with an army 10 times larger than theirs. He had archers, cavalry, spearmen, and even siege units. The Spartans stood in silence, an unmovable wall of bronze and crimson. Then, with a thunderous roar that shook the mountainside, the enemy charged. The narrow pass strategy worked perfectly. The Spartans formed the phalanx, their shields locking together to create an impenetrable barrier. Spears jutted out, driving back, wave after wave of attackers. Enemy after enemy fell before them, their bodies piling up, creating a gruesome rampart. Hours passed. The Spartans held the line. Not a single man broke rank. Not one warrior took a single step back. Their discipline carved through the chaos, their training shattering the enemy's morale. From his vantage point, Darius watched in disbelief as 300 Spartans fought with the fury of an entire army. But as the sun began to set, casting long, bloody shadows across the pass, Darius unleashed his final, cruel strategy. A secret mountain trail, revealed by a local trader, had allowed his elite soldiers to flank the Spartans. It was a bitter echo of the betrayal at Thermopylae centuries earlier. Surrounded from both the front and the rear, the Spartan Legion understood their fate was sealed. But instead of General Leonidas III raised his spear high one last time and shouted a final command: "For every step they take, make them pay in blood." The Spartans reformed, their backs to one another, shield to shield. Creating a circle of death, they fought until their spears snapped until their swords shattered, until their shields broke into splinters. One by one, the warriors fell, but none retreated, none begged for mercy. None bowed their heads. They died as they had lived. They died as Spartans. When the battle finally ended and silence fell upon Mount Dardanus, Darius looked upon the field. He had won the pass, but as he gazed at the 300 fallen heroes, he realized he had lost something far more valuable. His pride, the impossible bravery of the Spartans, had broken his spirit. He never marched into Greece again. The sacrifice of the last Spartan Legion gave Greece the time it needed to unite, to rally its forces, and to push back the invaders for good. Their names were lost to time, their individual stories forgotten, but their legacy lived on in legend, in honor, and in the memory of a free Greece. And so, history writes their final chapter, not as victims of war, but as warriors who stood when no one else would. The last stand of the Spartan Legion. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more tales from history.